This lecture is about the regulation of hormone secretion. So, usually, endocrine glands do not secrete their hormones at a constant rate. So the rates may be influenced by nervous stimuli. However, rates are usually regulated by chemical stimuli, including other hormones. So, the chemical regulation of glandular secretions is accomplished by feedback. So, what is feedback? So, feedback then occurs when the production of one hormone, which we will call hormone A, influences the production of a different hormone, which we will call hormone B. And here's where it becomes feedback, which in turn influences the production of hormone A. And there are two different types of feedback, and they are called Positive, that's an E there, positive feedback and negative feedback. So I'm going to start by drawing you a chart of positive feedback. So oops. So positive feedback then is amplifying feedback. And the way that this looks is I'm going to draw a very technical endocrine gland here. So here we have an endocrine gland. This is endocrine gland A here. And so if we then have an increase in hormone A, so here is our endocrine gland. And here we have endocrine gland B. And here we will have an increase in hormone B. So what's happening here? In positive feedback, amplifying feedback, an increase in hormone A. I'm going to put this down a little bit lower. This then leads to an increase in hormone A, leads to an increase in hormone B. So far, so good. In positive feedback, that increase in hormone B then also leads to an increase in hormone A. So this is going to amplify the levels of both hormones. An example of positive feedback, we tend to think of positive as meaning good. And positive feedback may be good in some cases, but not in all. As I said, it is an amplifying feedback, so it is not going to lead to regulation, to homeostasis. Positive feedback, think of it this way. If you have ever had a job and your boss told you to do certain things, if you did those things and maybe you did extra of something that you thought the boss would like, if you had a good boss, the boss came back to you and said, "Good job, I saw you did those particular things. That was great. I really liked that." So then, if you're a good employee, you'll think, "Oh, okay, the boss liked that. The boss gave me positive feedback about that thing that I did. So I will do more of that." So you do more of whatever that desired behavior is, and the boss, if it's a boss, will come around again and give you more positive feedback and say, "That was a really good job. You did a great thing by doing more of whatever it is." So then you increase more that behavior some more. So the boss gives you more praise, you do more of what the boss likes. The boss gives you more praise, you do more of what the boss likes. And this is going to go in an increasing circle, an amplifying circle. And that's what positive feedback is. It amplifies things. I hope this is making sense now. So that's great if you want to amplify something. And in fact, that's how sound amplifiers work. But that's not good if you're trying to maintain homeostasis. For homeostasis, we need negative feedback. And this is one where regular English departs from the language of physiology. Negative in this case does not mean bad. So just keep that in mind as I draw this out. So now we're going to look at negative feedback. So this maintains homeostasis and can be thought of as a dampening feedback. So unlike what you see with positive feedback, which is an amplifying feedback, this is a dampening effect instead. So here is how it looks then. Again, we have our endocrine glands, but here we have an increase in hormone A. And that increase in hormone A then leads to an increase in hormone B. And that then, in turn, leads to, that's an arrow there, that then leads to a decrease in hormone A from endocrine gland A, which then leads to a decrease in hormone B. And that decrease in hormone B then leads to an increase in hormone A. So they go around and around and around, and what happens is that the hormone levels go up, the hormone levels go down, the hormone levels go up, the hormone levels go down, but it means that they never go too far up or too far down because the two hormones are being regulated by one another. So I'm just going to give a quick example of that from the rest of your life. A thermostat that keeps an oven, or a room for that matter, at a constant temperature is a good example of A negative feedback system. You may not have even realized that with a thermostat, the temperature does go up and down ever so slightly, and heating elements may go on or off ever so slightly, or ever so briefly. But that's what's going on with thermostats, is they are such a tight feedback loop that you wind up getting a basically constant temperature. But it is done by way of negative feedback. So I've just given you a physical example, something you may be familiar with, as an example of negative feedback. Now I'm going to give a hormonal example. So we are now doing negative feedback, and this now is a hormone example. So there is a hormone called thyroxine, which is secreted by the thyroid gland. And thyroxine then is regulated. So the levels of thyroxine in your blood then are regulated by levels of the thyroid stimulating hormone, also known as TSH. And this then is produced by the pituitary. So the pituitary gland secretes thyroid stimulating hormone. So when thyroxine levels are low, the pituitary, which is a gland at the base of your brain, the pituitary then is stimulated to secrete the thyroid stimulating hormone. This makes sense. When thyroxine levels are low, the thyroid stimulating hormone is produced. And then TSH stimulates the thyroid to produce thyroxine. And then when thyroxine levels reach a certain point, the secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone by the anterior pituitary then is reduced. That's a C. And the thyroid gland then subsequently stops or slows down secreting thyroxine. And around and around and around it goes. So this is an example of the secretions of one gland being regulated by the secretions of another gland. But in other cases, endocrine gland secretion rates are controlled by levels of simple substances such as calcium and glucose. And this, of course, would be in the bloodstream. And that is it for this lecture.